So yesterday I posted something on Facebook. A friend came over and he had a circle round piece about 27 inches wide that he wanted to cut a radius on the bandsaw. And I said, why would we do it on the bandsaw? You're gonna have the bandsaw marks, you're gonna get burn marks, you're not gonna have a perfect cut. We could do that with the Shaper Origin router that I purchased in January, before all this pandemic stuff started. I'm a woodshop teacher, I'm a cast member at a theme park, and everyone's closed, and I got nothing but time on my hands, so I've been watching all these YouTube video shows, these live shows they put on once a week, Shaper does, Festool does, following people on Instagram and YouTube, and having people come over and do woodworking in my garage. I had nothing but time on my hands, so I purchased the Shaper Origin handheld CNC router, and it was something that I wanted because I've always wanted a CNC machine, but couldn't afford it. Don't know the software side, the programming side, and that learning curve was probably too much for me. So in watching all these videos on YouTube, I see the Shaper Origin, I see it's plug and play for the most part, that you can get more advanced with it and do other things if you have that computer design side, but just learning how to use it, and I've watched enough videos. When I got it home, I plugged it in, went on the screen, and I was able to use it right away. So some people complain about the cost. Someone put a comment, said for that price, I can buy a CNC. Well, the Shaper Origin is $24.99. I do not work for Shaper. I'm just trying to show you something new, and all the posts that I've been putting on Facebook have just been to keep myself busy and to do some teaching, because you can't come to me in the class. I can't go to work. I'm here. I'm just trying to keep myself busy. So with this yesterday, with all the comments and everything, and the comments were saying it's expensive, it's not expensive, it's great, it's not great, who owns it, blah, blah, blah. I just want to address some of that. That in this, I'm going to try to show some things on it so you can understand a little bit better. That I'm happy with my purchase on it. But when someone said for $2,400 they could buy a CNC, I don't know where you're going to buy a CNC for $2,400 that maybe you have a 12 by 12 screen or a table that it mounts on. Where I work, we've got one that's over $100,000. I know people have $200,000 in them. So what I like about the Shaper Origin is I don't need all that design software experience, and I can just take it right out of the box, put some domino tape down on a piece of wood, go to the programming. I can put text in, circles. Once the workstation comes out in October, I'll be able to do dovetail joints, mortise and tenon joints, and a whole bunch more with it. And I'm not limited to the size of a Shaper table, or I mean the CNC table. With the CNC, that if you got one that maybe is affordable for some people and not for others, but to get a decent one with a decent table, I would want at least a 4x8 table so I could put a sheet of plywood down and cut out and do whatever I want to do. Somewhere I worked had a 5x10 table, but it's over $100,000. That's not affordable for the hobbyist of a guy working in the garage, and that's who I am right now. I don't have any desire to build things for people. I just want to be able to show you how to do things and teach. So my goal was to buy this. What I liked about it, I don't have the restrictions. I don't have limited to the size of the table that I have. I could do something across the floor, and there's tons of videos on this online, so you can look at all that stuff. I'm not sponsored by them, so I'm just sharing what my thoughts are on it and what brought me to it. Disadvantage from a CNC to the handheld router is you have to be holding the piece the whole time. You can't do three-dimensional stuff. You have an X and a Y axis, 2D. So you can cut in, change the depth, you can measure off the edges, and once you learn how to use all that, that's great. And the more I watch the YouTube stuff, I'm learning more and more. I went to one of the local distributors here in Southern California and talked to him for an hour, and I came home and I used all the stuff that he told me and I put it all to use, and it was very helpful. So there are places that sell it that don't know anything about it. They should, but they don't. So if I could do something to help you, show you the basics, that's my goal, is to show you that, and that's why I purchased it. I do not have a goal of trying to produce items to sell with it, but even if you don't have those computer skills, you can go online, you can buy an SVG file, or you can find some for free. So I've done a few things with it, and I've been sharing the stuff. So this was an SVG file that I found. I think we paid $4 for it. There's a Mickey and a Minnie, and I've done a few of these. People have come over and done a few of these. On the Shaper Hub, when you buy it, they have stuff that you can use for free. People share their items that they make on there. I think there's like 650 plus projects on there that you can send to the thing via Wi-Fi, or if you program something, you can put a thumb drive into the machine. But I did this cutting board, and then I was able to cut some thinner pieces and do some inlays and pocket them in. So this is sapele and wingay and maple that I put that in. I did this one wingay and curly maple, so yin and yang cutting board. Very simple. We did have a learning curve on doing the pocketing and getting the piece to fit in here perfect. It did take several tries in opening that up, cutting on the line, pocketing, but once you learn how to do it, it makes it easier the next time. My wife came up with the bow tie was already on the machine. I programmed the dowels on here, and I saw the picture of this. It looks like a tuxedo, where I put the stripes of walnut and walnut for the dowels that I made. I did all this on the Shaper. I planed the wood down to 1/8 inch thick, cut the shapes out, pocket them in, set them in there, and glued up some strips of maple. It was a kind of cool, easy something you can do, Christmas gifts. So what the Shaper is, when you buy it, it comes in this sustainer, this case that fits in here. It comes out of this. This plugs in. There's no on-off switch to turn this on. So to turn this on, you're going to plug it in, and then this light turns on, and that's the power for it. So then if we were to look at it on screen, let me pause for a second and we'll come back so you can see it from overhead, so you can see what the screen looks like and that. So this will be part one. We'll come back to part two in a second here.